Yo guys, what's up? It's WarSpirit here today with my Junkrat Stage 1 video. I love Junkrat, I think most people do. He's super fun, his kills are rewarding no matter your skill level, and once you've practiced him a fair bit, you'll really start to notice your damage output increasing to insane levels. I've wanted to do this video for a while now, mainly because I've been playing an absolute ton of Junkrat in scrims and tournaments recently, due to him being very heavily in the meta, especially on the hybrid payload maps for first point holds, as well as occasionally seeing him on offense purely to burst through enemy defensive shields. But I've been ill the past week with the flu, as it seems everyone has been, but I've also had barely any free time anyway because of the amount of tournaments we've been playing in Overwatch. I think I'm actually very nearly at the stage 2 level with Junkrat. Well, at least I should be, since he's one of my mains in tournament play. So that's another reason I wanted to get this introductory episode up ASAP. So who is Junkrat? Real name Jamieson Fox, affiliation Junkers. That's pretty much just Roadhog at this point. I'd bet on seeing more Junker heroes in Overwatch's future. And then he's Australian. I usually hate Australian accents in video games just because they're so damn strong and in your face, but it's okay because Junkrat doesn't talk too much. When he does, it's usually some stupid story or just a ton of really high-pitched giggling. So purely for personality and style purposes, he's a great character to play. I just love how he giggles every time you throw out his concussive mine. It actually turns out that Roadhog is classed as Junkrat's bodyguard, since Junkrat wound up with a rare secret discovery and needed protection from other gangs, so he made a 50-50 split deal with Roadhog, and now they live happily ever after, just wreaking havoc around the world. Junkrat's primary weapon is his frag launcher, used for lobbing grenades across the map. It holds 5 in total before having to reload with a big 120 direct hit damage each grenade, as well as explosive damage for detonating nearby. Although Junkrat's nade launcher and Pharah's rocket launcher explode with the same damage, they're used very differently. While Pharah's rockets detonate instantly when they collide with anything, Junkrat's will only explode on direct hits. Otherwise, they'll bounce 3 times before exploding. This makes direct hitting with Junkrat a lot more important because otherwise his grenades are very easily avoided. There are some major benefits to the bounce, as well as the big arc the grenades fly in, because using this he can easily damage enemies that aren't on his screen, and that means they can't see him, and that's simply by spamming around corners of choke points, and it's something you'll be doing all the time until enemies eventually push through. There's some really annoying insta-give potential with the nade launcher by utilising bouncies and direct hits. You can get a lucky hit from bouncing a nade off a wall while simultaneously getting a direct hit for an insta-kill before the enemy has time to react to any of the damage. Either way though, his fire rate is high enough that you can keep clicking away quickly for the direct hits in the close to medium range engagements. Just try not to get too close because the splash damage also affects yourself. Don't be afraid to throw in a melee finisher on weakened targets that do get too close though. Junkrat's first piece of equipment is the concussion mine. On an 8-second cooldown he can actually throw this pretty far for another big burst of 120 damage with a larger explosive radius than his frag launcher. Easy kills are to be had while your concussion mine is off of cooldown. Save it for that moment when you land a direct primary hit on a prime target before throwing out the mine and detonating as quickly as possible for a huge 240 total burst of damage, one-shotting a lot of heroes in the game. The good thing about the mine is that it inflicts no damage on Junkrat himself, and it also boosts you a massive height into the air when you detonate it nearby, most effective while jumping and detonating directly underneath you. Use it to set up on vantage points and for some quick escapes. I like to use it when an enemy Pharah comes in for an ult. It saves me from the splash damage on the ground, and it allows me to lob frags at her as I go soaring past. Also, in a coordinated enemy team push, you can usually throw a mine over the top of the Reinhardt shield, detonating and throwing a bunch of enemies into the sky, way out of position for them for their push attempt. Definitely one of Junkrat's key strengths is to very quickly shut down any aggression. This is also complemented by his second ability, the Steel Trap, usually placed in well-traversed areas hidden on a corner, and it'll nab anyone who passes over it, locking them in place and dealing an instant 80 damage. Combine that with your 120 damage concussive mine, and that's a one-shot kill on any 200 health character, providing they aren't being passively healed by a Lucio. They shouldn't be though, if they're speed boosting in for a big fight. Junkrat's trap can instantly turn a fight into a 6v5, which is why it's important when you're playing against Junkrat to look out for these traps. They aren't the easiest to spot, and you will actually have to look down lower than normal when checking corners for them due to the limits of your view, but once spotted you can destroy them pretty easily. Just make sure when you do, you're checking Junkrat's position for him throwing down another trap. Junkrat's lucky and actually comes with a unique passive ability as well in the game, one of those annoying Call of Duty ones where once you die you drop some bombs, killing any enemy standing too close. The best part is that these bombs will actually roll downstairs if you die on them, which is usually the best way to get a kill with this passive ability, but most players have caught on now not to stand over Junkrat's body when he dies, otherwise you're likely going to go with him. Sometimes people do get caught up in the moment, they push onto the objective and it will catch them out. Obviously, not your most satisfying way to kill someone, but it'll help keep the battle even until you respawn. Junkrat's final ability is his ultimate Rip Tire. Hopefully by now you all know what it is and how to react to it, but for the purposes of my Junkrat introduction video, I'm going to explain it. So upon activating his ultimate, Junkrat remains stationary, pulling his Rip Tire from his back, controls it for 10 seconds with the aim of blowing it up on as many enemies as possible. It can jump, it can climb walls, it's got an incredibly loud roaring tire sound. You can definitely expect enemies will know that it is coming. Be very patient with your ult and use the full 10 seconds if needed. That'll mean you'll want to keep your body in a safe place, out of sight, perhaps covered with one of your traps. If the enemy team sees your tire, they can shoot it and destroy it since it only has 100 life. That's not exactly hard to do, but it does work out as one of the fastest charging ultimates in the game, so Blizzard has clearly taken it into consideration that you might not always pull off any kills with your Rip Tire. The most important little trick you can learn to do with the tire is to activate it and then run it into a wall for a few seconds while the initial roaring activation sound dies down a bit before sneaking it very quickly into the enemy's flank. 1 kill with it is worth, 2 kills with it is a major success, more than that and you can probably chill for the next 30 seconds while you wait for the whole enemy team to regroup. Rip Tire is one of those ultimate abilities that can full hold a point multiple times on its own, but it's especially effective on overtime since it forces enemies into a very vulnerable position on the point, usually grouping them up, and then your tire there is just a very easy way to end that timer. Final outro statement time. The key trick to getting good at Junkrat is getting good at timing for the frag launcher direct hits. You can go into the practice range and mess around for 10 minutes just popping the bots until you get the feel for how the grenades come out of the gun, how they bounce, their trajectory and their travel speed for predicting hits on moving targets. The rest of it comes from positioning, remembering your key traps positions, reaction times on the concussive mines for shutdowns and escapes, and then the ultimate is really just a bonus. Stay with your tanks, hug corners. You are very vulnerable when caught out in the open. Don't try and win 1v1s against enemies who have the high ground advantage because it's a lot harder for you to land grenades at that angle. Just try and spam them out with your bouncing grenades while hanging back with the rest of your team. Thanks for watching guys, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay in the background. Let me know your guys' thoughts on Junkrat and any feedback at all on the video, post it in the comments below. And I'll see you soon in my next Overwatch video. Bye bye!